Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Wade Stevens. This is my channel, also known as the CA or California Recovery Guy. Welcome. This is my first, input and video uploaded to YouTube, and God's just really been putting it on my heart for a long time to do this channel. I've been so busy with registered nursing school and different stuff and education and really just taking the next levels in life, that I haven't been able or had the time to be able to do this YouTube channel, but God's been putting on my heart for a long time to do a recovery slash God channel, with prayers and discussing the 12-step movement, breaking down the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous to people out there that may not know if they're a real addict or real alcoholic, what that means. A lot of you may have stumbled into AA or NA or different fellowships with the 12 steps that utilize the 12 steps. And you might be confused. You might hear a lot of war stories and I went to prison, I shot somebody. You might hear a lot of stories and you might be a business professional. You may work in the medical field. You may be a police officer, a judge, a lawyer. And you're not going to relate to a lot of the stuff that's shared in Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, and a lot of times, depending on what meetings you go to, they're gonna give a poor representation of whatever specific fellowship you fall into. So I'm really here to share my knowledge with you guys. Hopefully, you guys get something from it. And you may be just sitting at home. You may be drinking a little bit too much wine at the end of at the end of a hard work day or your corporate career job, and maybe you're sitting back wondering, what does it truly mean to be an alcoholic or a drug addict? And before anybody comes on the channel and maybe they're in AA or they're in NA and they say, hey, what's this guy doing? We have traditions that talk about anonymity at the level of press, radio, television, and films, which would be this, right? He's breaking traditions by recording himself, saying his full name. He's breaking our traditions of anonymity. And that's just, I ran it by my spiritual advisor. And the whole deal is, as long as I don't say that I'm a member of any specific fellowship, meaning AA or NA, I'm not breaking traditions. So that's just, I've already thought of that. I ran it down with my spiritual advisor. And really, I'm not breaking any of our traditions in the program by doing this. It's just simply to be helpful. I'm not trying to get famous off of these videos, or God's been putting on my heart for a long time, giving me visions to do this, to share my knowledge, to tithe my knowledge to people out there like me who are sitting on that couch and the end of my drinking or using times and watching celebrity rehab and wondering what's really wrong with me. Why can I not stop drinking? Why can I not stop using? Even though my very life depends on it, I keep going back. So that's the goal of this show, this channel, is to really be dedicated to God, whatever your higher power is, whether it's Buddha or Allah or Christ, like it is with me. I roll with Christ. It really doesn't matter. I developed my relationship with God through the program. I was introduced to a relationship with my higher power through the program. And in any 12-step program you go into, it doesn't matter what your higher power is. It doesn't matter if it's Christ, if it's Allah. Everybody's welcome. It's awesome. Rock on. Please don't be, hesitant about viewing my channel if you don't roll with Christ. This is not about that, right? We welcome everybody. So really, here it is. Are you a real addict or a real alcoholic? And that's going to be the name of this video. For my first video, it's April 6th, 2020. We're dealing with this coronavirus. My heart goes out and my prayers go out to everybody who is infected with the coronavirus or knows somebody who's infected with the coronavirus. My heart goes out to you. And I'll keep you in my prayers for sure. Every night I'm in prayer throughout the day. I'll definitely keep you guys in prayer. So really, what does it mean, right? If we look at the book of Alcoholics Anonymous, commonly called the Big Book, what does it mean to be a real addict or alcoholic? Do you have to go to jail? Do you have to go to prison? The answer is no, right? That's why I say that we get if you stumbled upon AA or NA, you probably got a bad representation of what the literature has to offer and what the literature tells us. And I'm a literature guy. I've been through the steps in my second round through the steps, the 12 steps, and I'm here to share my knowledge with you. So if you're sitting at home, you got this high corporate career job. Like I said, I'm studying in the medical field for a high, career, a respectable career. And really, you're going to be like, I don't relate to jail. I've never been to jail, never been to prison. I've never beat up anybody. I've never done any of that. I raise my kids. I have a wife or a husband, and I make good money. I just can't put the bottle down. I can't put the pills down, or whatever the case may be. Right? Thank God the book of Alcoholics Anonymous gives us a really clear explanation, and gives us two simple questions to ask yourself when you're sitting there. This is how you're going to diagnose whether you're a real addict or a real alcoholic. It's on page 44 of the book of Alcoholics Anonymous. So let's turn there really quick. Okay, I'm here. So first paragraph on page 44, this is the book of Alcoholics Anonymous. In the preceding chapters, have I learned something of alcoholism or drug addiction? We just change out the word. It really doesn't matter. We hope we have they made clear the distinction between the alcoholic and the non-alcoholic. Here's the two questions to see if you're a real alcoholic. When you honestly want to, do you find you cannot quit the alcohol entirely? Or if when drinking, do you have little or no control over the amount of alcohol you take? Now, if looking at these two questions, if you can answer to your own satisfaction, you only know this, right? If you can answer to your own satisfaction, yes, that's true. When I honestly want to, I cannot quit the alcohol entirely. Or when you drink, do you have little or no control over the amount you take? Once you ingest it, you are a real alcoholic. Has nothing else to do with your life and how it turned out, whether or not you've been to jail. It doesn't have anything else to do with that. There's plenty of people in jail and prison who are not real alcoholics or real drug addicts. They're just a little spiritually off, perhaps. So really, that's your answer. If you're sitting at home and you're wondering, am I a real alcoholic? I make great money. I got nice cars. I got a nice house. I can't be a real alcoholic. I'm not a bum out on the street, drinking out of a brown paper bag. I'm not on Skid Row. I got a nice life. I can't possibly be an alcoholic. But the book of Alcoholics Anonymous tells us different. So really, two questions one more time. When you earnestly or honestly want to, do you find you cannot quit entirely? Entirely means for good and for all. On your own power, for good and for all. Do you find you cannot quit entirely? Putting the bottle down, putting the drugs down. Or if when drinking or using, if it's drugs, do you find you have little or no control over the amount you take? Then that means you're a real alcoholic, or substitute it, if it's with the drugs, you're a real drug addict. Now, if you answer those two questions, the same for alcohol and drugs, that means you're a real alcoholic and a real addict. See, that's how we qualify. One of the first things we do when we meet a new person that needs some help, we ask them these two simple questions. We want to ascertain, are they one of us, or are they just a hard drinker and user? Are they just a moderate drinker or user? Are they the real deal alcoholic or addict? We want to ascertain that. The reason why, if you're a real alcoholic or a real drug addict, your life depends on a spiritual experience. Your life depends on getting tapped into the power of God, whatever your conception of God is. And really, that's what the 12 steps is about. It's to clear away everything that's blocking you from this power, and it's giving you a blueprint to power. It's just a blueprint to access the power of God. A lot of us don't know how to access the power of God. The 12 steps allows us to get free of anything that's blocking us, so that then we can access the power that we need to live and have a spiritual experience, which will get us into a recovered state, which we'll talk about at a later video. It will get us recovered. We don't have to worry about drinking or using ever again, as long as we continually, once a year, rework the 12 steps, 3 to 4 meetings a week in whatever fellowship you prefer, whatever fellowship you feel more comfortable in, and we're in some service. And we'll talk more about what service means in a later video. So I love you guys. I'll keep you on prayer. Please subscribe to the channel. I'll be uploading videos every day to really break down the book of Alcoholics Anonymous. This goes to everybody out there. I just hope that you can gain something from this channel, gain some knowledge. A lot of times in our meetings, we're not giving you the accurate information. We're not giving you adequate representation of whatever program we're involved in. So my goal and my job here with this channel, since it was put on my heart by God to do so, is to relay this information to you. So while you're sitting at home, you went on another bender one more time, your husband or your wife's pissed off one more time, and you're wondering what's really wrong with me. The reason why we use these 2 questions, the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous use these 2 questions to qualify you, is because we suffer from an illness that has 3 parts. The reason why you can't stay stopped is because you have this thing called an obsession of the mind. Normal people, normal drinkers never develop this. The obsession is an overwhelming thought to get a drink or a drug, and you can't and you can't defeat it. It automatically takes you back to another drink without your permission, even when you don't want to go back. So that's the first thing. We're qualifying you to see if you have the mental obsession. That's why you can't stop entirely. The second question, when you drink, do you have little or no control over the amount you take? The reason why we're using that question to qualify you is because we're looking at this thing called the phenomenon of craving, or the allergy of the body, as we call it. It means the same thing. When you drink, you have an abnormal reaction when you ingest alcohol. Normal drinkers never have this abnormal reaction. They drink, you have the phenomenon of craving that develops. Me, if I took a drink today with almost 8 years of sobriety, the phenomenon of craving would kick off automatically. Automatically. That never goes away, right? So that means you have 2 parts of the disease out of 3. You have an obsession of the mind. You have the craving of the body, because you answer those 2 questions to your own satisfaction. And the last part, whether you are an alcoholic addict or not, everybody has some form of the spiritual malady, this feeling of being irritable, restless, or discontent. With alcoholics and addicts, in my opinion, we just have it to a more extreme degree. When I'm sober, I am completely irritable, restless, discontent, falling apart at the seams, full fear, and it's like I can't shake it. And that's why the obsession to drink always comes back, so that it can treat that internal stuff that's wrong with me, that's off, that I feel so full of fear. I'm choked out by it. And that's what the alcohol treats. That's why the obsession of the mind comes back, kicking off the craving once again in my body once I ingest it. So hopefully you were able to answer today either yes, I'm a real alcoholic, or a real addict. Yes, when I honestly want to, I find I cannot quit entirely on my own power. And yes, when drinking or when using drugs, I have little or no control over the amount I take. Okay? So hopefully if you answered yes to both of those questions, guess what? You're a real alcoholic, or you're a real addict if it pertains to the drugs, or you're both. If both answers are yes in regard to alcohol and in regard to drugs, both answers are yes. That means you're both. You're a real addict and a real alcoholic. 2 reasons to go through the 12 steps and get well and have your own spiritual experience. So I love you guys. Please subscribe to the channel. I'll be putting up videos every day, and I promise once all this coronavirus stuff clears up, this channel will be legit. Legit camera crew, legit photography. It's just right now it's hard to get that stuff going because of the coronavirus, social distancing, all that kind of stuff. But I promise that this channel will be nothing but top notch, nothing but legit editing, all that. I'm just doing it from my phone, my iPhone right now, to get things going. Right, the vision's been coming really heavy to get this channel going. Just haven't had the time, so caught up with school and everything else. And now we had a little time to really get this channel going. So Wade Stevens, again, that's my real government name. CA recovery guy, California recovery guy, I guess would be a nickname. for this deal. And I love you guys. Until the next one, peace and God bless.